Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome to another Modpack Little Talks. So, I have been working on something. Those of you that are on the Discord know that I've been working on this for a little bit. That is the enchanting system, and those of you that are in the patron section have a good idea of kind of what to expect from this video probably, though I will be showing off a couple other small things, or one thing in particular I suppose, that I don't think that I've shown off yet. I know I've mentioned it, talked about it a bit in the past, but anyways, I have been working on the enchanting system, and I actually took a few days. I was working on kind of a disenchanting system that goes along with it. It's a little bit different, but I decided, well, I'll explain it here in a minute, but I kind of decided against it, and I'll explain my reasoning behind that, I think. So anyways, I have been working on an enchanting system because I know I've mentioned it before. I've never really cared for vanilla enchanting. It's okay in vanilla, and I think it's okay in most packs and stuff. But with Tales, I want to do something a little bit different, something a little bit more unique with the enchanting. And something I've always loved in games is gem socketing. I absolutely love gem socketing. You know, in World of Warcraft or Diablo or what Path of Exile kind of has something similar with the runes. But it's been a while since I played Path of Exile, but I believe it's something kind of like that, you know. And so I wanted something that was a little bit different than just sticking things in an enchanting table and then, you know, you get your enchantment out and then maybe you disenchant or you make books and you combine them and all that. It's just boring to me. And it's never different. It's never different. And so I wanted to just totally abolish that entire system. So that entire system is gone. You cannot enchant things through a book. And a big thank you to Spiger for helping me out with this, because if we take a look at, say, enchanted books, and we grab ourselves a protection 1 and a protection 1 book, we throw these into the anvil, they do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you cannot bypass the system. So for example, I've got protection books. Let me grab a couple pieces of diamond armor, throw this in. You can see that I can apply the book, and I can still name tag things. Like if I want to change the name, that's fine. If I want to repair it, that is fine. But I cannot combine these enchantments whatsoever at all. That is completely disabled. Spiger whipped me up a quick mod, and we did a little bit of bug testing, got it working just perfectly for Tails. Big thank you to Spiger, which some of you may know is the dev for IC2 Classic, as well as other things like unique enchantments, which is used within Tales. Unfortunately, IC2 Classic didn't quite make the cut because it doesn't really fit as well, but a few of his other mods are in here, I think 4 in total. So that entire system is abolished. I will be posting that mod on the CurseForge before too long if any of you guys are interested in that. But that entire system is gone. There is no enchanting whatsoever. I think most of the sources of getting books entirely is gone, though you may still come across some of them. Doesn't really matter because these things are kind of weak and kind of, honestly, kind of garbage in Tales if you just find, you know, an enchanted book or something like that. But most all sources should be gone by the time Tales releases. I've got to get rid of the fishing. I think is the only thing, fishing treasures, I have to adjust. But so that's that whole system out the door. And so what I have done is I've created a gem socketing system. And this was, I'm still tweaking. I'm still tweaking a little bit on some of the enchantments, but this was a massive project. Not overly difficult, but it did take a bit of time. And I'm using silent gems for kind of the core of the socketing system because, you know, it's full of gems. And this will be one additional use of your gems, aside from, you know, you'll be able to make custom armor and weapons, which I'm also fully integrating additional materials. So if you want to make a silence gear, we're using silence gear and not silence gems, but if you want to make a silent gear draconium sword, you can do it. If you want to make a silent gear fire dragon steel sword, you can do it. If you want to make one out of chaos diamond, you can do it. Chaos diamond being kind of a new material. I textured this myself, which is actually just basically a diamond that I retextured. But Chaos Diamonds, you can do that. I do have to do the language file, but I'm going to do all that at the same time towards the end of things. So just ignore the fact that it says content-tweaker.chaos-diamond and all that. But anyways, you'll be able to do that. I haven't integrated Chaos Diamonds just yet into the material system, but they will be getting integrated. And in addition, there are going to be certain bosses that drop special gems. They're not going to be on the exact same system as the Silent system, because the Silent system and a lot of the Chaos Diamonds will be in this category and a few other things. They actually work on a grade system. The boss drops will just be a flat, this is what it has on it, you know, stats and stuff like that. The grade system has variation based on the grade. So, but there will be special boss drops and special rare drops and things like that that can be socketed. For example, a few of the ones that I have, if I could find my list. I can't find my list, but there's a few I have made that can be used in addition. But for example, for the basic system, you know, you're out mining, you find yourself a silent gem, you know, some kind of a gem ore. These will all pretty much be accessible once you hit the beneath, but the beneath is super dangerous, and a lot of these aren't going to spawn if you just go down to the, you know, bottom of the world or top of the world and you start mining out cobblestone. You're actually going to have to get out and face the dangers of the beneath. The horrible, horrible beneath. I've died so many times there testing. The beneath is kind of a dimension you get access to shortly after you reach the Erebus, but you kind of use it throughout the entire pack. It is kind of a place where there's a lot of things that you can only find in the beneath. You can only mine in the beneath. They can never be replicated. Silent gems are one of those. Originally, I had planned for silent gems to be just, you know, you could just get infinite of them, maybe through Falling Tower or something like that. But I just changed my mind because I want to make them kind of a more rare resource, something that you actually have to get out and go find. And with there being a very large variety, there is, I believe, 48 in total. They're going to be kind of tough to find, especially if you're looking for a specific gem, which I think in a lot of cases you probably will be. They may be a bit involved to actually find and then get the grade that you're after and stuff like that. But for example, let's grab ourselves, let's grab one of my favorites, Heliodor. Let's grab this one. All of these are completely customed. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your gems, you're going to throw them into the part analyzer from Silence Gears, and it's going to grade your Heliodor. Some of you may be familiar with this system. The grading system, it's been around in Silent Gems and in Silent Gear, and basically it just tells you what kind of a quality your gem has. So you can see this is a grade D, this is a grade B, this is a grade E, and it's going to range from E, well, it's going to go E, D, C, B, A, and then S, double S, triple S. So once you get up to the S ranks, those are like really good. Triple S, super rare to get your hands on. I did actually get one naturally the other day. I was very surprised, but generally they are super rare. So you can see right here I did get a double S grade, and I got an A grade. Now any gems, when it comes to socketing, these gems are still useful for things like crafting, or if you want to make armor or something like that out of those, that's fine. These are alright. But what you're after if you want to socket is grade A, S, double S, or triple S. So you can see with the 48 different base gems within Silence Gems, there's a ton of variety. Not to mention the Beneath does have a few other gems that can be socketed, like Ancient Emeralds. Those can be socketed. Ancient Lazuli can be socketed. Also, if you want to spend the time gathering up a lot of ancient debris to craft yourself some ancient core, ancient core stones, or netherite core stones. Sorry, netherite core stones. You can craft those and you can socket those, but they do require a grade for those. So you can see I'm getting a lot of A's, and I got that one double S, which is pretty rare. Now that we have these, what we can do is we can come over to our gem cutter from Arcane Archives. And right now you have to kind of click through these. But I did bring up a suggestion to the Arcane Archives devs about adding a search bar, and they did like that idea, which is good news. So they had mentioned they're going to look into maybe implementing that. So maybe by the time Tales come out, there might be a search bar for the gem cutter table. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, you're going to be clicking through these a bit. But if we come over here, we can find our Heliodor. This is a Heliodor socketing gem A. and then there's S and double S and triple S, and then it moves on to Peridot, and then before that's Amber. So you can see you can only socket those top 4 quality gems. The rest of them just don't, they're not a good enough quality really to create a socketing gem, because kind of the innate magics that have to exist within the gem, you know, lore, all that stuff, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you have to get those top quality gems. So for example, if I throw in, you don't even have to throw it in here, it can be in your inventory, but if I put in our grade A Heliodor gems, I can click here and I can get a Heliodor socketing gem. So this is a Heliodor socketing gem A. And you can see that it has Spartan Weapon and Smite on it. Now if you compare it to the difference, this is a jump over the S rank into the double S rank socketing gem. You can see now we have Spartan Weapon 4, Bone Crusher, and Smite 4. So a big difference. And then of course the triple S's are extremely powerful, very rare but extremely powerful gems that you can socket into your stuff. Now this of course would be probably a weapon enchantment. I don't see you using any of this on armor or anything like that, because Bone Crusher increases your damage to skeletons, Smite of course does undead, and Spartan Weapon means you're going to deal more damage if you have a shield in your offhand. And I will include all the in the quest book. There will be a list for all the enchantment descriptions, a little bit more in depth than I think what you can do with tooltips, so I will include that. Most of these gems are very specific as to what you would probably want to equip them on. For example, if we tab over to here, Ruby is kind of just your all-purpose general. This is the Ruby Triple S. Is your all-purpose general kind of, I'm going to stick this on a pick or a shovel or something like that and just go to town, because it's got really high in breaking, efficiency, and mending. You're not going to get fortune, you're not going to get anything fancy like that, but you're going to have a really solid pick that's going to last forever, right? And if you go down the tiers, like if you want to look at the Ruby A, you're looking at Unbreaking and Efficiency. If you come over to here, you're looking at Unbreaking 2, Efficiency 2, and then it picks up the Mending at the double S. And then if we come over to Garnet, this one's kind of nice. This is just if you just want luck on something. If you want it on a fishing pole, you want it on a tool, or you want it on a weapon, Garnet is perfect for that, but it's not going to give you anything beyond that. You're going to be able to get up to Looting, Fortune, or Luck of the Sea 12, which is massive, but no Mending, no Unbreaking, no Efficiency, nothing. That's just flat out what you're going to get. There are some other Looting, Fortune, Luck of the Sea gems that are a little bit more specialized, but they're not really going to go above maybe like a Looting 6 on a triple S, I think. So if you just want pure looting, this is actually a really good gem, though, to throw on a pick just for mining, say, your silent gem ores or something like that. Just have it around. It's kind of useful to have. Now, if we go over to Topaz, you can see Topaz, this is actually a protection. Now, you're not going to see protection all that often on armor. This actually goes up to protection 6, unbreaking 6, depth strider 2, and stable footing. These are good boot enchantments. But generally, you're not going to see protection enchants. Also, sharpness, you're not going to see those too commonly. And when you do, they're very subpar compared to if you took something like magic resist, blast protection, projectile protection, something like that. Protection 6 sounds great, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that great, because some of the blast protection, I think blast protection, projectile protection, stuff like that, if you have a specialized gem for kind of built around that, you're going to be looking at like blast protection 12s in comparison to protection 6s. Now, by the time Tales comes out, these values may adjust a little bit. This was just kind of a very rough, let's see how this goes, and then tweak it from there sort of thing. Now, actually, the Amber gems are one of my favorites because you get Swift Blade 3, Streamline 6, Perpetual Strike 7, Alchemist Grace 1, and Warrior's Grace. This is very much, if you want to play like an assassin build, which is very doable within Tales, you may notice over here, there's kind of a radial thing going on here. That's actually a light detector. Tales does feature dynamic stealth, and so you can be a very rogue-esque play style, and you're going to get damage boost, a big damage boost for like backstabs and stuff like that. So that is a thing that you can do, and there are armors, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but there are armors that will benefit you as well as weapons and things like that that will benefit you. Now, being a melee stealth character, a whole lot more effective than necessarily being a ranged one, just because you're going to get a whole lot bigger damage bonus, and whenever you kill things with a backstab, you're going to get buffs for a short period of time after that. Now the same is true with the range, but it's just not as large of a degree with the range attacks. A little bit easier to pull off, so I did make those a little bit weaker. But with the Amber Socketing Gem, you benefit from really fast weapons. So going with something like a dagger, it's really, really good, and you're going to get damage boost based on your attack speed of the weapon that you're using. Also, the more times that you keep striking an opponent, the more damage you're going to be dealing. Alchemist Grace means that every time you strike opponents with that weapon, you're going to get speed boosts. You also get durability back whenever you kill things with your weapon. So there's a lot of really good, really cool, I think, class aspects to a lot of these gems, and depending on what you socket, it will probably change up your playstyle a lot, because there's like certain ones that are really paladin based, certain ones that benefit from using really big slow weapons, but they give you huge power increases every time you land attacks with those big slow weapons, and the slower that they are, the more of a benefit it is. Like I said, a little bit of tweaking will surely happen before now and actual release, probably even before now and alpha testing. But there's just I went through and manually set these up. This is the Heliodor that we were looking at, so you can see Spartan Weapon, Fire Aspect, Bone Crusher, and Smite. You are a soldier of the light, and you are smiting down creatures with that Heliodor Socketing Gem. Peridot is a little bit more of, if you want like a tool that has touch and has just a ton of really good gathering potential, Peridot is a great option for that. Smartass is actually from Unique Enchantments, so that if you are breaking something that's stacked, for example a tree or gravel or something like that, it's going to break the top blocks first and then break downwards. So really, really useful. Range, of course, increasing your harvesting range, momentum increasing your speed based on Y level. So kind of a nice gem for, especially for something like a shovel or an axe, I think. Green Sapphire Gem is kind of like your nature gem, so you have swiftness. If you want to be a ranger type class, like an archer, I was playing around with an archer build where I was like thorning down enemies and like binding them down with webs, and I was always at a range just shooting my bow, and I had like spectral wolves going out, right? It was a lot of fun, actually. It was like way more class based, I think, than I've ever experienced Minecraft to be, personally. But you get that increase to movement speed. You get regeneration when you're near plants. Your armor, or whatever has the ecological enchantment, means it gets repaired when it's near. This is actually an armor gem, by the way, if it wasn't apparent. But you get that movement speed, you get regeneration and mending when you're near plants, and enemies get hit by that thorns effect, which is quite nice, and so on. All these gems have been implemented at the moment, and I'm actually have my script up at the moment, working on a few more. So what you can do is, once you make your socketing gem, so for example we have a Spartan Weapon and a Smite gem. Now let's say we wanted to put this, for example, on a sword. All we have to do is drop that now in an anvil with our gem, and you can see that we have a diamond sword. So pretty straightforward. It's just kind of an adjustment to the normal enchanting system. I'm using Apotheosis to allow this to happen, so swords can combine with these socketing gems. Of course, diamond swords, poorly made, won't last long. Yeah, they're garbage. We don't want to use those. But just for an example. But I'm using Apotheosis to allow all of this to happen, and I'm working on kind of setting up a thing that'll say, once this is socketed, it'll say like, this is socketed with a rank Heliodor gem or something. But this is just kind of a rough example of what I've been working on, and it's actually been a lot of work. Surprisingly, it's been a lot of work, because I tried to make all these very niche sort of gems and things, and make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more just character customizing, and making sure that you can't bypass it, because I didn't want to end up with the situation that I think most modded Minecraft did. We did get one triple S from a full stack of Heliodor. We did get one triple S. That's pretty awesome. But I wanted to avoid kind of the normal situation that vanilla hits, where you're just like, okay, I'm going to stick all the best enchantments on here. Okay, I've got sharpness, I've got looting, I've got unbreaking and mending, and any other modded enchants that may be available, fire aspect, knockback. You know, I don't want that. Those enchantments still exist, but you're not going to be able to just get all of them. It's just not going to happen. Rose Quartz is actually kind of a fun one, and there's a few others mixed in. Rose Quartz is extremely powerful. Here, there's a triple S Rose Quartz. Alright, so let's go ahead, let's throw this in, and I want to show you. Alright, Rose Quartz at face value looks amazing, right? It's like, whoa, this is amazing. It's got Hell Infusion 10, Reaper 7, Dread, Unbreaking 4, Berserker, and Sweeping Edge. This is one of the kind of darker gems that kind of leads you down sort of a darker path, you know? And gives you some really strong enchantments that at face value, they just look absolutely amazing. There's no, aside from Dread, there's not really any downside to this, right? It just looks like, oh yeah, this is a really good enchant. And it looks a lot stronger than some of the others. But, first up, Dread is nasty. If you guys have never had an experience with Dread, it's nasty because you start spreading that Dread Plague. And it can influence your world, so if you kill creatures near your base, things may get a little bit nasty for you. But, in addition, and I'm not going to tell you about all the gems that have these, but some of the gems that look just absolutely amazing at face value, be wary of them because most of them have curses which are hidden and will never be visible to you. They are hidden and you won't know it. So some of these gems are cursed, and some of the boss drop gems and things like that are cursed, but they trade off curses with really strong enchantments and stuff like that. And of course, not all the curses are bad. There's actually a couple Berserker style gems where you benefit a lot from having low health and just dishing out massive damage because of that. That do feature things like life mending, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Of course, with no natural health regen, it could be a bad thing, depending on your current kind of setup and everything. So there's a lot of, I think, customization and I think variability as far as the way people may approach certain situations and stuff by just doing more class-focused enchanting instead of just, here's the enchanting, why don't you dump it all on a sword and call it a day? You know, there's not that. And then there'll probably be some more gems added. I think beyond the silent list here, like the standard gems, I believe there's about 16 different gems that are being added. A few of those are boss-only drops, and there's a few others planned that I haven't yet added to the list. So there's going to be a lot of kind of variety. Some of them are very late game. Chaos Diamonds, of course, are very, very late game because they tie into Chaos Shards as far as how you craft them, and they do require being graded to get them. And but you do, it's not like one Chaos Shard to one Chaos Diamond, you know, it's nothing like that. But I just think it's going to make things a little bit more, give it a little bit more variety instead of just going for what is the best sword and go for that, you know. So that's kind of the enchanting system. Now, originally I had planned on, and I know there, and Joe Mega had brought it up as well, about adding in a disenchanting system where you can unsocket those gems and get this, you know, the gems back and the weapon back. I don't think I'm actually going to do that. I debated on it for a while, and it may still get added, but I think even if I add a small cost, like a reagent that you have to use to disenchant, it still results in a lot of flip-flopping and stuff like that. And I think with the current system, if you unsocket, you lose the gem, which is kind of true to a lot of games. They, you know, you lose the gem. I know Diablo's not that way. Diablo is kind of crowd pleasy though with Diablo 3 in a lot of ways. But I know, like for example, WoW, if you socket a gem, it's gone. You know, if you replace it, you can replace it, but you do lose the original gemstone. And I think I want to keep it true to that, so there's not as much switching out. And then there's also not those situations where you have a really good pick and you take a few of the reagents, because, you know, eventually, if I give you access to reagents early on, then by, you know, a little ways down the road, they're not that expensive in comparison, I don't think. I thought of a couple ways to do that, but none of them just really worked out. And then you end up in that situation where you're swapping gems a lot and just still using, you know, just one sword and one pickaxe and stuff like that. So this kind of makes it so maybe you want to carry around weapons on your backpack, you know, in your backpack to switch out, and picks to switch out, and things like that for different situations that you may find yourself in. which to me is a lot of the goal of Tails, is making kind of those quick decisions and quick switches and just total class flip-flops. I had a lot of fun actually running, the other day I was running the Storm Mage gem socketed into Storm Mage armor, which is a little bit more unique in Tails, I think, than in most situations. And I was running that stuff, and I was, because the gem that goes with the Storm Mage set gives you the ability to shift and kind of hold your place in the air for like short durations. And so I was just like hovering up in the air, calling down storms and lightning bolts while I had a storm elemental, you know, going to town on the enemies and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. And that's something that I don't think you necessarily will ever find yourself, for example, wearing the wizardry robes generally in most packs with the default enchanting and the default systems, but within Tails there's benefits to running stuff like that, and there's benefits to running things that aren't just maximum possible protection. And if you go for maximum possible protection, there's a lot of downsides to that as well, which are not yet fully integrated, but I'm working, that's actually next on my list to do, because I've been working on kind of a spree of combat related tweaks and balancing and finishing out armors and equipments and things like that. A lot of those mechanics I'm working on trying to wrap up and get organized. Going for maximum armor, it's not as beneficial in Tails, I think, as, I mean, there's benefits to it, but there's downsides to it, and they outweigh, you know, they weigh out rather well in my experience so far, what I have tested. But just to give you an idea, if you wear really high value armor pieces, you're going to get debuffs like slowness. You're not going to be as fleet on your foot as an archer that's, you know, wearing like basically like leather or some variation of it, or a caster that's just wearing cloth. You're going to be slowed down and be bulky and feel bulky within Tails. So that's something to watch out for. Just stacking armor value, you're going to be moving like a turtle if you're not careful. Now, another thing I want to mention is, just as a quick, which I have to change the names. I noticed earlier this set, the naming is really, really weird. But right now, you could say that the Neptune armor set, which it doesn't have any rings or anything associated with this armor set at the moment, it may see some rings, and it may get a buff if you're using a tool or sword from the Neptune set. Also, if you actually make the set and don't get it out of creative, it has lore and stuff on it, but just the creative version doesn't. But the Neptune set, of course, comes from Mirvodi, and it's where you can first craft it. And this set, you'll notice down here it says Neptune armor is 0 out of 4, and 0 out of 2, 0 out of 3, 0 out of 4. The names, I'm going to change the names. Right now they say Neptune 2, 3, and 4. This was actually one of the first sets that I had made, and I do have to adjust the names on these once I figure out what to name them. But, for example, if I throw on one piece, the set turns yellow, but I don't have anything at the moment. I'm just wearing the helmet. Now, if I throw on a second piece here, you will notice that, well, this one, it's not going to pop up anything, but this one, actually, if you have the second piece, that's why I need to put it in the title. But you actually get an increase to your luck if you're wearing two pieces, at least two pieces of Neptune armor. You're going to get an increase to your luck. It doesn't really show up, but it does go into your attributes and changes that a little bit. And if you throw on a third piece, and we give it a second, it does take a second, and I think it's because I have this set to refresh every 10 seconds, so it just refreshes after 10 seconds have passed. But if we throw on this piece, and we give it a moment, I may have to decrease the refresh rate, and yeah, there we go. You can see that we get swift swimming. We get the swift swimming effect, and this is constant. It goes 10 seconds and refreshes 10 seconds. I'm probably going to change it to 10 seconds and refresh on 5, I think, or, you know, some mix of that, just so it doesn't fall off for like a split second. This, like I said, this was my first one that I had ever done, and some of my later ones I think are a little bit better, but this one, it needs to be updated a little bit. And then if we throw on the boots, then in addition we are going to get water breathing. So if you're wearing a full suit of Neptunian armor, you are going to have swift swimming and water breathing from the set bonuses. Some set bonuses require certain shields and weapons. Some set bonuses require certain rings and things like that. Some set bonuses get really crazy with like 8 pieces to them with different, you know, buffs as you go down the list. And some of them trade off beneficial effects with kind of small negative effects to balance things out. So yeah, there's a lot of mix of things kind of going on behind the scenes here, and so you may want to carry additional sets of armor with you, because having a set that gives you swift swimming, and I may bump that up to like swift swimming 2, maybe if you have a certain ring, give you swift swimming 2, but lurker skin armor does also give some of the similar buffs as well, but I may make the Neptune armor though become kind of the, well, no, because this is higher armor value. I may keep it, because right now it's like if you wear the lurker skin stuff, you're like super fast and you can breathe underwater and stuff, and you're pretty much like swimming around like Aquaman. And I may keep it that way, just because it's kind of a trade-off, because the Neptune armor is not is a bit more defense than the lurker skin, so I kind of like to balance it out. The goal with Entails is, at least until you reach really true in-game and you're dropping in-game bosses, you're not going to get armor that's just like, uber god mode, this is the best thing ever. So I'm trying to balance out so you have, really big positives that your armor and gems and things may give you, but there's also going to be potential negatives that you're going to get. And you're never going to be able to be every single class in one character, with one set, with one loadout and everything. So you kind of want to think on your feet and like, what are you going to be doing right now? Let me choose appropriate armor and appropriate weapons and gems and things for that situation. Are you going to be fighting a lot of undead? Well, sock it up those Heliodors, or there's a couple others that are light based and whatnot. There's some that are actual light based for fighting shadow creatures. There are certain ones that are undead based for smiting down the undead. So depending on the situation, you may want to switch out. You may want to carry a couple weapons with you for different situations. And that is a little feature of dynamic stealth. I'm still kind of tweaking with. I just recently added dynamic stealth, and rocks aren't even supposed to be spawning here. I need to finish setting up some of these dimensions, but a couple interesting things. There are certain armor sets that are really, really crazy. The Void armor in Thaumcraft, I always thought was a really cool armor set, like visually, but it's not all that unique. It does the warping thing and all that. But within Tales, it's kind of classified under the kind of darker armors. If you decide to go down a really dark path in your play, you can, if you get the Void hood specifically, if you wear that hood and a few other hoods and things like that, they actually give you full out blindness while you're wearing them. Like complete blindness. Where you can still see a few feet in front of you, but you have like no distant vision whatsoever. So at face value, I think that sounds horrible. But they also come with the soul sight, and it's really one of the only ways to get soul sight within Tales. You get the soul sight potion effect. So all creatures, like how that rock was showing up through this wall, which I'm going to have to tweak that because he shouldn't be showing up. But like I said, I've only been messing with dynamic stealth for a couple of days, getting that all implemented. And it's got the longest config option file like I've ever seen. It's ridiculous. It's like 1,500 lines of stuff, and it's been a lot of trial and error trying to get that tweaked. But if you wear the Void Thaumaturge stuff, you will get Soul Sight in exchange for your blindness, so you can actually see creatures around you, even if they're through walls or under the floor or something like that. You can see those with that Void Thaumaturge headpiece, but you are going to be blinded in exchange for that. So there's a couple changes to armor and stuff like that I think are going to be kind of fun and interesting, and maybe make for like some really dark mage type playstyles where you kind of give up your vision to be able to see creatures through walls and things like that. I think it'll be kind of fun for the exploration and combat aspect of things. But yeah, so anyways, I just kind of wanted to tease a little bit with the enchanting system. I know I had a lot of people very interested in seeing that, and I did kind of want to show that off. Once again, a very big thank you to Spiger for help with the, he pretty much did everything, and I was just bug testing it. I've learned a lot while working on Tales, but I've never made a mod. And the scripting language I'm not that familiar with, the one that Java uses, which I think is like C++, but I'm not all that familiar with it. So, but a big thank you once again to Spiger for helping me out with that, because he saved my life, because this whole enchantment system revolved around not allowing you to combine enchants through the anvil, but I still wanted to keep the functionality of the anvil, because it is quite handy for name tagging, repairing, things like that. I may also be completely removing the stacking cost for repairing. Never been a big fan of that. I don't know. I may just see if I can make just anvils free. I don't like the XP system at all anyways. So I may see if I can just do free, completely free anvil stuff. So you could socket your gems and stuff that way. But I don't know. I'll figure it out. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Stay updated with when new videos come out. I hope you guys are enjoying these kind of sneak peeks of Tales, and kind of now that work is, I can't really say it's winding down or anything like that. It's still a massive amount of work, and I'm trying to put a massive amount of hours into it just to try to hit that end of the year alpha test. This has been a very long process, but part of that's due to the full rewrite that I pretty much had to do, and part of that's just due to me trying to integrate literally everything within the pack and make kind of some interesting crafting mechanics and little systems and things like that, and try to be as in-depth as possible, because I don't want this to feel just like another mod pack. I want it to feel like a unique experience in the Minecraft world, but in our own kind of creation of that, using the mods available and stuff like that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I'll see you guys then.